Welcome to the Nate KG Podcast, a show dedicated to exploring the nuances of jump rope, where I talk with jumpers of all skill levels, backgrounds, and fitness goals. In this episode, I have a chat with Bobby Williams at Bob Starsky on Instagram. Bobby and I have known each other for over a year now and had the opportunity to meet and jump when he visited Southern California in June of 2019. Even though we've known each other for a while, this was the first time we really sat down and discussed Bobby's story with jump rope. We get into a lot of different topics, including getting stronger over time, how Bobby structures his workouts, how to find the style of fitness that matches you, and a whole lot more. We mention a lot of jumpers in this episode, and I would highly recommend checking out the show notes over at natekg.com. I've got links there to find and connect with all those jumpers. And without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Bobby Williams. Bobby, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's good to hear you, mate.
Yeah, it's been a while since we last talked. I think probably June of 2019. Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't join me, Mike. Was Dustin and Chris for Korean.
Yeah,
that's quite sad about that.
Yeah, that was after a long workshop day in LA, and I had to drive 2 hours back to San Diego.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the vlog for that. By the way,
yeah.
So that's on the 1 year anniversary. You got to aim for the 1 year anniversary.
Honestly, though, yeah, it's hopefully now I can finally get it done after an entire year. It better be a darn good video too, waiting this long.
Man, just put your heart and soul into it. We're all in it. That's all that matters.
Yeah, for sure. Let's kind of start with we start with some roasting, so that's good. But let's transition to a little bit of where you are in the world, and then I guess how you first found jump rope.
Okay, well, I'm in London. Been in London my whole life in England, not too far from Mellini, and so the first time I picked up a jump rope, funnily enough, was around 2011, long time ago. But in terms of how to do it, learning all the skills, there was nothing available. I did see back in those days like videos of like Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather jumping, but there was no one really saying, oh, this is how you do this and that. So I was just like, okay, I'll just try it. It was not great. Mainly used it as a kind of like a post-workout thing. It's like, okay, I'll lift some weights and then, okay, I'll do jump rope for like 10 minutes. And it was all right. And then I just stopped and got to swimming. And swimming, I lost a ton of weight from swimming and I enjoyed it a lot, but then it started to get a bit monotonous. So then I started running and that was great. Then it started to get a bit monotonous. So then I was flipping between running and swimming. And then I got into weight training and I just didn't enjoy it.
Really?
It felt like a chore. I had goals like, I want to have this kind of physique, never got close. Like I had short goals, like, okay, I want to be able to deadlift about 135 kilos, got there. It's like, well, I didn't really get the high of the accomplishment. It's like 135 kilos is, I think, about 300 pounds. So I deadlifted that. I was like, okay, well there you go. And then last year in March, well, no, actually, way before then, Jump Rope Dudes came on YouTube. And they had a tutorial. I was like, okay, this is great. So I learned how to do crossovers, got my double unders a bit better. And then Rushy from Rush Athletics, he came out and he had even more skills. I was like, okay, this is fun. This is fun. But again, I was only using it as a like a post-workout thing. Like, okay, this is my cardio after my weight training. And then last year in March, Rushy had like a event, and that's where I met him. I met so many other people, Marius, Chris, who you've had on the podcast, Deck, who you've had on the podcast. And Chris, there was like a little workshop, and it was like, okay, I think Deck was teaching how to do double unders, Rushy was teaching how to do double under crossovers. Then Chris was teaching EBs, and I was like, see, that EB thing looks a bit weird. Let me try and learn that.
Yeah.
And like Chris was like very like, okay, no, he broke it down. All right. pretend like you're rolling the window rolling down the window of a car. I was like, that makes sense. And then I was able to do it, and it was all right. But I was like, nah, see, this isn't my thing. I'm more like the boxer skipper type person.
Mm-hmm.
That's my style. And then Mimi, I remember me and Mimi, Mimi you, we kind of started getting onto Instagram and getting into it around the same time, but then I kind of fell out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came back, and then now she's like just on her own level. And I was always like, that's my girl. I want to be like Mimi.
Mm.
And then we had a second meetup in May. Well, Rushy had a second meetup in May, and I got to meet Chris again. And that's where I think it was around that time I was learning the mic. And that was probably the worst experience of my life.
Learning the mic was?
Yeah, it took forever. It was one of those things where it was just like, okay, I do this, but you know what to do, but you're not doing it.
Yep.
It's just like, okay, I'll throw it. Okay, it's not going the way it's going, and it took me about a month solid just to be able to catch the handle.
Mm.
But I think what the issue there was I wasn't learning to catch it and then go in a toe catch. I was learning to catch it and then go into a side swing.
Yes.
And eventually I got to it, and then Chris was like doing his trick of the days. It was like, okay, trick of the days, and then was learning all these different moves, toads, Krugers, and then I can't remember when it was. No, it was after that. So then I had put money down on Anthony Joshua to lose to Andy Ruiz. I don't know if you watch boxing.
I don't know.
So Andy Ruiz was the like really, really tubby Mexican guy. Just what you wouldn't expect from an athlete, like a world champion.
Mm.
And Anthony Joshua is like Adonis, just chiseled, tall, handsome, knockout power. And it was like crazy amount to bet on for Andy Ruiz to win. I just put like probably about £20 on Andy Ruiz, and I ended up winning about 900 quid.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
just on two £10 bets. I won £900, and then it was like, this was when Chris had already told me he was going LA, and I was like, okay. And then I was like, oh, well, I need a new phone. My phone's kind of, the battery's just going. I could get a new phone. And in my head, I was like, wait, what if I go LA? And then I messaged Chris, like, what if I came to LA? And he was like, that would be pretty cool. And I had just started my job, I think, a month before. My new job, I started it just a month beforehand, and I asked my manager, can I take next week off? And she was like, yeah, that's fine. So I literally won the money on like the Saturday, and then booked my flights to LA for the following week on the Monday.
Oh, that's so cool, dude.
Yeah, and then the following week I flew out. I didn't tell anyone but my family, and Chris knew, obviously. And yeah, LA's that's where it was like I met so many people. So I met both what's their names? Brandon and Dan from JRD.
Mm-hmm.
Dudes, really nice guys. I had an issue with my Airbnb. I couldn't actually have a shower. The shower wasn't working in my Airbnb.
Oh, that sucks.
Especially
after jumping.
I didn't know there was a shower downstairs. So then I randomly went with Chris to Gold's Gym in Venice Beach. And then he asked if I could, or he asked Dan from JRD if I could use his bathroom to have a shower. And Dan was like, yeah, that's fine. And there's a funny video on JRD. I think it's when Dan was doing, I think, 100 push-ups a day for a month. There's a clip where he's doing the push-ups, and you see me in the background take my top off to go have a shower. Yeah, it's like in super fast motion, so you have to pause it. I ended up sending a screenshot to a few people. It's like, look, I'm in a JRD video.
That's funny, dude.
Got to meet JRD. Then I was in Venice Beach waiting for Chris, and then we met Tan. Tanim, and who came to that? Who else came to that? It was Don Eli came, Joe, what's his name? JG Pro.
JG Pro. Yep.
Yeah, he came, and Sober Fausto,
Mm-hmm.
and Mario. Mario's
Mm-hmm.
such a good guy. And that was nice meeting them. And then Mike and Chris were meeting me in Venice Beach, and I bumped into Brittany and Jimmy.
Oh,
Like I
cool. Yeah,
randomly
yeah,
I was just sitting at the basketball courts, and then I saw this really tall guy, and I was like, wait, that's Jimmy. So I just went up. He was like, who the hell is this? And I'm like, oh, it's me. He was like, oh yeah, yeah. And then we got to jump for a bit there, and then the next day is where I met you finally. I got to meet
yeah.
you, got to meet Dustin. Who else came? Davina came.
Davina came. Yep.
What's his name?
Deck was on Skype for like a
Deck was on
minute.
Skype because it was his 200th day. Was it his 200th day? No, it was
I think
his 1 year.
yes,
It was
yeah,
1 year.
yeah,
1 year
yeah.
anniversary. Yeah, that was cool.
Jumping every day.
Yeah, which is I can't do that.
Yeah, that's a
Too
lot.
old. Too old for that.
I was always wondering how you made that flight work, because I remember Chris talking to me and planning months in advance that he was going to be out here, and then the last minute you were like, "Hey, I'm going too." In the back of my mind, I'm like, "I'm pumped." But how did you do that last minute? Because that's like an expensive flight, and like that makes a lot more sense now.
I don't know. But this is the thing: is as much as I won about 900 quid, the flight was only about 400 for the following week.
Oh wow, okay.
It's very strange. I mean, I did fly on a Tuesday and came back. I came back on the Sunday.
Okay. That makes sense. If it was last minute, it would be a lot cheaper.
Yeah, and that journey back was bad because I think it was you, Mike, Eddie, and Chris were meeting in Venice Beach, and I really wanted to come,
Mm-hmm.
but I had my flight, and my flight was cancelled.
That's
I was,
right.
yeah,
Yeah,
I was
I
stuck
remember that.
in LA for about 3 hours. Unfortunately, my connecting flight from where was I going? I was going from LA to Phoenix, and then Phoenix to London. So my connecting flight from Phoenix to London was 45 minutes after I would arrive. So I
Mm.
missed that. So I was messaging, who was it? DJ Survivor, because he lives in Phoenix. I messaged him, was like, I might have to actually stay with you if that's possible because might be stranded. And he was like messaging me back, like, yeah, man, no worries. Maybe we can meet up. So then I was sorting my flights back. Eventually got a flight from LA to Boston and then Boston to London. And so I was delayed 11 hours. So when I should have landed around 10 a.m., I got home around 9 p.m.
Wow.
And the best thing was I got home after that journey. I sat down, checked my phone, and I had a message from Jump Rope Gal saying, I'm in London. Do you want to meet up tomorrow morning? And I was like, oh, man. And I actually was like, yeah. And I was messaging her, I was like, do you think I should? I'm like so tired. But then we actually met up with her. We went to my gym, jumped together. She taught me the caboose.
Oh,
I
sweet.
think that was one of Chris's trick of the days. I think that was his trick of the day of that day, and we did that. And then we went out for dinner. Yeah,
That's cool.
It was good. Yeah.
So when you first started jumping, did you have a specific style of workout that you were doing with the jump rope, with like, because you were using it to warm up, right?
Yeah. Well, it's sort of warm up and sort of like an after weight training, just the cardio part. But no, it was never really structured, and it was more okay. Let's see how many skips. I'm in part of that group on Facebook. I think it's the Cross Rope group, and you get a lot of people that are like, I did 1,000 skips, and in my mind right now, I'm like, that's nothing. But then I think back to when I started in 2011. It's like, man, I remember when I struggled getting 10, just 10 jumps, and it was a slow progress. But I never really had a structure. It was only after meeting Chris and learning about the competitive side, and it was like, okay, let me try cross, open, toad, caboose, and then something else. And then I'd be there for like ages just trying to get that sequence down. I was like, this is actually the most fun I've ever had at exercising. And so before I didn't have a structure, but now I do. But it's weird. It's like I'm in probably the best shape I've been in, and I haven't actually gone about it like I'm trying to get a certain physique or I'm doing it to work out. I'm just doing it because I enjoy it, and it's great. But no, when I first started, I just remember just learning random stuff, never really having a structure. Maybe like 10 double unders, 10 crossovers.
So now when you go to the gym, do you kind of attack it in terms of like, there's a couple of skills I want to give a try today, or do you have any structure, or how has it changed?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, my last session, I wanted to get a double under push up, double under cross push up, and then double under AS push up in one go, which I got. I also was working on my split leg frog and my kamikaze, and they turned out okay.
Gross, but you still got it?
Well, I don't know. You'd have to look at it to tell me. Like it's literally my last post is the last time I jumped, which was like 2 weeks ago, which is not great. But I do. It all depends. Sometimes I've got like a list of video ideas, which is sort of like workouts. So like maybe it's a sequence. So what I'm gonna try to do tomorrow is just a sequence. I've got it in my head, and the sequence is going to be like an EB side swing wrap to release to an EB cross, EB wrap. I don't know what the move is called. I only learned it recently. I don't know if you've seen it. One of the flight crew had done it, and I had learned it from that. So it'll be this like it's very strange. So you do an EB wrap, EB toed wrap, sorry, and then you kind of spin around and wrap the rope around you, and then unwrap it, and then go back to jumping. I'll be doing that. I'm sure you'll have the name for that.
So you turn 180 while you EB wrap?
Sort of. Let me see.
Yeah, as we're chatting here, you can DM it to me or something. I went back to your account and looked at those push-ups you were talking about. And yeah, those look solid, dude. Those were definitely. It's fun for me to have watched you jump for the past year or two, or however long it's been, because you've gotten so much stronger and so much more proficient with like all of your skills, especially your strength. And I know that you've put in a lot of time on those push-up skills.
Yeah, it's but I've also been I like to get things done, and I like to be a bit of a perfectionist, but it's also caused me issues. So you can remember when I was learning the double under push-up, and I came to LA, and you just pointed out exactly what I was doing wrong, and I would get it every time after that. But if it wasn't for that, I'd be doing it exactly the same way. And that's also the same thing for the kamikaze. Chris pointed out something to me that I had never learned or even thought of, where he was like, okay, when you land, keep your shoulders like rounded and try not to dip. And as soon as I did that, that's when I could get it.
Yep.
And all the times I tried to learn it without doing that, I had messed my wrist up so bad. There was a moment where Mel got jumped, had learned the kamikaze, and I was just, in my mind, I was like, I can't believe it. I was so upset. I was like, he can't have learned it before me. So then I spent a whole day the next day just trying to get it with terrible form and just messed my wrist up. You know, it's just, that's the thing. It's like learning. There's a hashtag that Chris came up with, and I think you came up with, is always discipline is freedom. Kind of is the case for my kamikazes, because when I started to do it with proper form, I could just throw them out and just get better at them. But when I was doing it with improper form, I was getting injured, and then I couldn't do anything with my wrist. It would like really hurt. So now I wear a wrist wrap, which was recommended to me by Billy Woody.
Yep.
That was a trip meeting Bill. Like, I remember back in 2012, 2013, when Instagram didn't exist, YouTube, I think didn't exist at the time. Did it? It probably did.
I think it existed. It just wasn't. Yeah.
You know, Instagram didn't exist, but YouTube existed, and that's where I saw Billy, and I was like, this guy's insane. And then now, like, we message each other and like we jump together, that's just a crazy world.
Yeah, it's really cool to see all that connection, because Billy and I, we've talked in a previous podcast, but Billy and I used to actually go back and forth on YouTube 8, 9, 10 years ago, So it's been really cool to see not only people connecting that way, but I mean, it's 10 years later and
Yeah,
Billy and I still chat. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
that's pretty wild to me.
yeah. It's just crazy the amount of people I'm speaking to or becoming friends with, which never would have happened through like anything else other than jumping.
So how is I mean, so you were using jump rope originally as like warm up and cool down. Has jump
Yeah,
rope become kind of like your staple? Like how do you see jump rope fitting into your fitness goals now?
I that's the thing. My goals is to learn skills and then put them together in jump
Mm,
rope. I don't all when I so my workout in the gym is I get to the gym, I do some scapular pulls and pull ups, stretch my legs, and then I jump, and that's it.
okay.
I don't lift weights anymore. I don't I lift no weights. I don't go for runs. I don't do anything but jumping, but I always keep it different. So
Hmm.
that the thing that was making it stale for me was just learning very basic tricks. It's like okay, like basic bounces, run on the spot, crossovers, double under crossovers, double unders. That was quite stale, but it was learning the intricate tricks like the toad and the EB and then EB toad and then TJ and then okay, doing them by themselves are pretty good, but then doing it all in a row, so doing a sequence.
Yep.
Um, so like I don't know if you've seen my video I did for like my top 5 tricks of the year.
I think I did, but I don't remember that one.
Well, so my top 5 tricks were EB. Well, that was the honorable mention. It was EB, switch cross, mic release, TJ, squeeze, and frog.
Okay.
And I wanted to put that all in one sequence.
Oh, yeah.
And the sequence was EB, mic release, switch cross, TJ, frog, squeeze. So that was the sequence.
Oh, yeah, I do remember
Yeah,
that one. Yeah, and that's when you were still at your normal gym, right?
yeah. So that sequence took me 3 gym visits.
Yeah, that I
Just
can believe that.
doing that one sequence over and over till I got it took me 3 gym visits, and that was probably about 4.5 hours of just jumping. That's how I keep fit.
Yeah, you just keep going and going and going.
Yeah, just keep going, and that's mainly how I keep fit in general. It's just like okay, maybe I've learned this new trick, but I don't just want to show that off. I want to put it in a sequence. And I kind of told Mel, my thing is, if you learn a trick, that's great, but I don't think you can say you've unlocked it. Maybe not with the perfect form, but I don't think you can say you've unlocked it until you can do it in a sequence,
So
like
it's
in the
really,
middle.
yeah, it's really cool to kind of a couple things. One, it's cool to see how much your jump roping is transformed. You know, you've
Mhm.
added so much to it, and it's really fun to see a lot of folks who are jumping just for, just for a little bit of workout end up in the same spot you're in, which is exploring all these different skills. But specifically to your point about, feeling that you haven't unlocked the skill until you can do it in a sequence,
Mhm.
that is very much, you're starting to enter into a mindset similar to that of like competitive jumpers, because a competitive jumper, it's great if you can do a skill, doesn't really count for anything unless you can put it into a full routine to show on the floor. With the exception of like, obviously, if you're just having fun posting a video or like at a workshop, it's totally cool. But that's a really, it's cool to hear that from you, because you're now rounding out like all these different perspectives and exploring different ways to do jump rope. But I agree with you in terms of, I mean, if you can do the skill, you can do it, period.
Yeah.
But in terms of, different markers of proficiency, once you can do it in a routine and, then switch up the structure of that routine over and over, that's, I think, when you really get really solid with that skill. And you see that a lot with, I've gotten feedback before from various people about, watching
Mhm.
competitive jump ropers and looking at all their skills, and people saying like, wow, like they're so clean. And the thing is, a lot of competitors will, to your point about jumping for 4 hours straight, will spend a whole season perfecting one routine.
Yeah.
And then once you've done that, you kind of remember that for the rest of your life, you know?
Yeah, I can definitely see that. It's one of those things. I do like just getting lost in a sequence, and it's like, okay, that I didn't get it done, or I got it done, was it gross, but I still got it.
Yep.
But it's just a fun way of working out. Like when I was lifting weights or swimming or running, like it was like I was doing exercise, but it felt like a chore.
Mm-hmm.
Like those, removing and putting on weights for deadlifts was so like I hated it. Absolutely hated it. It was like and I would only have a certain amount of time before I'd have to go to work. But now it's just okay. I've got my jump rope. That's it. I just need space, and I can go for it. But now sequences is what's really just made me. I don't know. It's made me quite athletic. It's just I wish this is something that was as big as it is. In terms of the social media side, something I wish was around maybe 10 years ago.
Right.
I'm 33. I'll do those sessions, but I'll be out of action for maybe a day or two because I'll be just aching because my body's not used to, or just doesn't. We can't get used to that amount of beating yourself up.
I think a lot of it too. Well, there's 2 points to kind of make. Number one, like recovery, and I've talked at length about recovery with a lot of different people, but specifically with Shari, who's a professional heptathlete, and like her recovery is equal to her training time or more, because when you're putting in that much intensity, your body just demands that kind of recovery.
Yeah.
And then the other part of that too is, like you mentioned with the kamikaze push-up, once you start to do correct form, you start to practice these skills, it's very likely that you'll be able to do them a lot easier,
Yeah.
over time, obviously. Like a good example of that would be quads. Like the first time you do, I guess, swing, under, swing, open, quad, that could be pretty challenging because it is a quad. Now, once you start to practice quad combos or like harder quads, like a TJ quad or something, that one all of a sudden becomes a lot easier, and it's simple to kind of just go throw it,
Yeah.
And obviously stuff like handstands and push-ups are a little bit different in that they just kind of are a little bit harder on your body. But once you get used to all that kind of stuff, it's very possible that amount of pain or that amount of energy expenditure might lessen over time.
Yeah, well, when I was learning the double under cross push up, and then I learned I learned before that the AS double under cross push up. Like I found that my regular double under push up was just easy. It was just easy. Okay, I do that, go down, up, and I remember the struggle I had trying to learn it before I even met you.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a video on my Instagram where mid rotation, the rope got caught on my legs or my feet, and I couldn't bring my hands up to stop me from falling. So I actually landed on it was weird. I had to turn so I didn't land on my face, and that was painful. But it's just, the more you do skills, the better you get. Like the TJ, I remember my first TJ, I fell on the floor, and it was just I had to walk up and do it. And then eventually I learned to split the legs a bit better, so that my left leg goes back and my right leg goes forward. But it's just repeating the motions. Like I know with the TJ, like I've been trying to get Sharina STJD fit to improve her TJ. She wanted to learn, so I was trying to help her out with that. But what I found, what worked for me, was doing the TJ so much, but focusing mainly on your upper body, so that the arm movements, it's like you want to get that to the point where it's like muscle memory. It's like, okay, 2, 3. And then eventually you can just do that without thinking about it, and then just focus on your leg split. And then once you put that together, then you can do a pretty good TJ. And that's how I learn skills. It's like, okay, this part of the skill is not great, but this part is. So let me just work on it until that part of the skill is just muscle memory. I think that's what's happened with the kamikaze. And in terms of getting into the position, I can now do that quite easily rather than have to think about it.
Yeah.
And that's helped.
One of the biggest things I see with TJs and a lot of jumpers is, and this is really common with anyone who's ever done a TJ, is usually they will bring both of their knees up in front of their body, which will result in this really weird, awkward looking position, versus one leg should basically do a butt kick where it effectively makes the shape of a V, right?
Yeah.
And then the other one is exactly the opposite, where the knee comes up. I mean, some jumpers who are really flexible can do a TJ with their front leg pointed straight forward, which is amazing.
That's how I learned. That's how I worked on my form for my legs.
Rather
than lift with my knee, I lifted with my foot, and that's how. For some reason, that for me made it more natural for my left leg to go back in a V.
You know, it probably did that because if you think of just in terms of physics, like if your leg is a lever and you're extending it longer, in order for you to stay upright and not fall backwards, you would need another source of weight to counteract that. So it makes sense that your leg would then go backwards. I do want to touch on one other thing too. You mentioned when you were doing the AS to push up, you fell down and you land on your shoulder.
No, that was just a regular double under push up.
Oh, that was regular one.
That was before maybe a couple of weeks before I flew out to LA.
Oh, okay. What did you say you got caught on an AS to push up though?
No. I got caught on just a double under push up.
Oh, okay. I see. I misheard that as an AS. Well, regardless, I'm going to bring up the AS one because it reminded me. It's on AS to push ups, and this happens a lot. You'll pull that, but if you do it incorrectly, you might grab your ankles, and then the rope will get caught. There's a skill called a death wish that some jumpers do way too easy. Looking at Porter and Seth, you jump up in the air and you do an AS double under and land in a handstand.
I think I've seen that. That must be in the Trictionary?
I believe it is, yeah. And it's a very legendary skill, and it's called a death wish because not only are you doing, 2 rotations in the air and then landing in a handstand, but if you mess up the AS, jumpers have gotten caught with their hands there, gone up into the air, and then landed on their face coming down, which is brutal.
No, yeah, I bet. The handstand stuff is really that made jump rope even more fun for me.
Because you can manipulate your body and do a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah, so I remember when I met Deanna in London the day after I got back from LA, she was trying to get me to do the frog because she had learned not that long before. You just do this, and then I couldn't do it because I'd never done handstands. So then I just remembered your video of frog progression, and that's what I used to just learn to get into a handstand and be comfortable. And then I got my first handstand when I was in San Francisco with Deanna and Mel, and that was pretty cool because at least I got it with the person that was trying to teach me it maybe 4 months beforehand. And yeah, and then I was going for the split leg frog, and that made it even more fun. But it was just my wrist was giving out from the kamikazes because I was trying to drill both. So I drill the way I broke that down was I drill the split leg frog for about 10 minutes, and I drill the kamikaze afterwards for about 5 minutes. But I would probably only last 1 minute. Do 4 or 5 kamikaze drills, and then that's it. My wrist is
shot.
Yeah, it's just okay, I've got to stop.
That makes sense. What's been the most satisfying skill for you to accomplish?
I don't know. I would say the mick.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone remembers their first mick, or you at least have to. I mean, do you remember your first mick?
You know what? I actually don't. I remember my first push-up. My first. It's funny. The skills that I've struggled with the most have always been strength skills. I specifically remember exactly where I was at the middle school that I was at, underneath like this little area with benches and like this overhang area where
Yeah.
I got my first push up and I was super stoked about it. It was on concrete. I pulled it, I was hyped, and then I couldn't do it for like the next week or two. And I was pissed. Like that one I actually remember a little bit more than the Mick.
Yeah. I remember landing. Well, I remember I was drilling the Mick for about a month, but the first time I landed it was in the car park near where I'm living. There's a car park of a golf course that's like empty until about 8 a.m. So I usually get there for around 6 a.m.
Uh-huh.
And I like it was grey, it was cold, like, but I just was filming myself just constantly getting the Mick, and I would jump through and I'd side swing, but that was I had unlocked it in my mind at that time. I was just like, yes, that was the most satisfaction I got
Mm-hmm.
from. I think every time someone lands a Mick for the first time. Like, I remember when Melini landed it for the first time I was with her in a park, and I was just like, just do it, just keep going for it, and then she got it, and I'd filmed it, and like the reaction, it's I think Micks are like is the first time I was like, I think that's the move that got me into the competitive style, because
Freestyle
a lot of
skills,
people,
yeah.
yeah, because a lot of people I speak to, that I met at the Rushy events, when Chris was doing his thing, he just gets lost into it,
Yeah, he does.
and we'd be looking on like, nah, that's not my thing. Like, I've completely changed, but I remember looking at it, it's like, nah, like I'm more of a boxer style type jumper. Like, throwing the rope is just, nah, I think it's silly. And then now it's like, it's one of those things where in between like trying to get stuff, you'll just throw it, catch it, and just like mess about. And it's become one of those things you just do on the fly. Like a Mick is now, I just throw a Mick out, catch it, side swing, just like in between trying to go for stuff. And yeah, Mick is meeting Mike as well, and seeing him do the is it the EB McTwister? Is that what it's called?
The BC McTwister.
BC McTwister. So I
Yeah,
got him doing that the first time I met him. I got him doing that in super slow mo.
that's cool.
Okay, so that's the move that was it birthed the Mick.
Yeah, it's really cool hearing you say all this, because I really like that there's this new pocket or new category or style of jump rope that is it's like a combination or an evolution of strict like warm up or boxing style and competitive, but it's not either one. Like, I like that you're pulling a lot of different influences, and I like that it's not everyone needs to be a competitive jump roper, but you can still get so much out of practicing the skills and just having fun with it.
Yeah, yeah. It's literally getting into the competitive style. I don't think I would ever compete ever, just because like it takes a lot of dedication and a lot of sacrifice to do that, and I don't think I could get to that competitive level. But actually doing it that style and jumping with that style in mind, it's just exercise doesn't feel like exercise. It just feels like, okay, I'm gonna go do something I actually enjoy, and
It's just fun.
yeah, it's just fun. And at the end, I don't think, okay, I've burnt this many calories. I don't count my calories. I don't think, okay, I weigh this much now. It's just, okay, I jumped. I either got the sequence or I didn't. So it's like, okay, next time I'm going to do this sequence, or next time I'm going to get the sequence, or I'm going to learn this. And it's never been about, okay, what's my macros? It's never been about, okay, I've never thought about or tracked those things. It's just literally, I get to the gym or I go out, I jump, and then that's that.
So we talked a little bit beforehand, and you said you had a bit of a story around your Instagram username.
Oh yeah.
What is that story?
All right, so I had two nicknames growing up, and my full name, well, my first name is Robert, but I grew up being called Bobby. And in school, I'd have people call me Bobster, and then all my brother's friends, my brother's a bit older than me, all my brother's friends would call me Bobski. And at the time, I was like a proper geek, like doing a lot of digital art and stuff like that. And I looked up Bobstar on Google. This is when Google was like not as big as it was. I might have even used Yahoo. That's how long ago it was. But typed in Bobstar, and there was so many things coming up. I typed in Bobski, and there was a few things come up. And I had just watched that. Was it the film with Ben Stiller, Starsky and Hutch? Like
Oh, yeah.
70s film. And I was like, oh, Bobstar, Bobski, merge them together, Bob Starsky. And then I googled that, or I looked that up on like a search engine. Nothing came up. So I was like, okay, I'm going to use that. So if you put Bob Starsky in Google, everything that comes up is, there might be some really cringy stuff from back when I was like 18, 19. That was like maybe 14 years ago.
Did you say it's from you? Sorry, you cut out for a second.
Yeah. It's like Bob Starsky. It should only be me. No one else has that name. So
That's
if you
funny.
put that in Google, there'll be random things. So there was this video game editor type fighting game thing called Mugen. I don't know if you know of that, where people would create their own 2D fighters or like edit them. And I'd actually helped with one of those. So you might see that.
That's really funny, dude.
Yeah, that's how I came up with that name. So, but it's funny that a lot of people think of me now like maybe, I just jump now. But if you go on Google, you can see my history with all the video game stuff and film stuff, and it's crazy. I'm actually going to look it up now and see what comes up, other than my social media. But I do have a YouTube channel, which has random clips, nothing crazy. But yeah,
nice, dude. That is you did not lie. That's a fun story.
yeah. So it's I just came up with the name just because I wanted something unique, but it just stuck with me. Like people were saying, why don't you create another Instagram account, maybe called, instead of Bob the Builder, Bob the Jumper? And I was like, yeah, because I saw John Joe did that and Mel did that, and I was like, I don't know, I kind of just want to. I don't think I could keep up with 2 social media accounts.
Yeah,
I'll just keep it to one. And I had loads of friends like, is that all you do now? Is that all you do? Just jump? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. Because I used to post random stuff. Go on.
Do you feel like jump rope has taught you anything?
It's taught me to be a bit more disciplined.
In what way?
It's just being like sticking to exercise. It kind of made it fun for me. I don't know. It was more of a thing where learning all these skills and then putting it all together. Now developing that style. It kind of just made me like, how do I say it? Maybe discipline and more routine. Okay, now I'm not going to just skive off. I mean, I have to now because of the whole quarantining. But a lot of times going to the gym, it was just like, I don't really want to. But that was when I was doing stuff I didn't enjoy. But I think jump ropes taught me that if you want to do something, do anything in life, make sure, an important factor is to make sure you enjoy it. And then it doesn't feel like a chore. It doesn't feel like you have to do something. It's you want to do something.
Yeah, that's a really important point, because one of the biggest factors in, speaking from more of a coaching perspective or personal training perspective, one of the most important factors working with, a client or anybody who wants to get more fit or, introduce exercise into their life in a daily way or on a routine, like you say, is that enjoyment factor. And it's funny because almost everybody who is unfamiliar with exercise or who hasn't previously had exercise as a staple in their life and now wants to bring it in, they tend to always view it in some kind of a negative light, like it's a necessary evil. And that's the number one thing you see in all legitimate literature about coaching or just any kind of program or anything. It's, you have to actually enjoy it to a certain extent, and what you enjoy really depends on you and what, like some people really enjoy a CrossFit style workout or or a high intensity
Yeah.
interval where it's very intense, but then you're done with it, and it leaves you feeling depleted. Some people just like a lot longer of a time period and lower intensity. Like it depends, Some people are socials and they want to be in a team sport. Some people want to just jump solo, or jump solo or work out solo. So it's really cool to hear you say that. And that's such a big point that I wanted to underscore, and it really matters a lot. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
No, yeah, no worries. It's like I have friends that lift weights, and their goals is to, you know, deadlift so really heavy or bench press so heavy. That was a goal I used to have, but I don't like it. But I would never tell them that it's not great to do. It's that's why when people see the weight I've lost, it's not a big ton. It's not like a crazy difference, like say with Declan. Like his transformation's insane, and it's very inspirational. But my transformation is quite smaller. But a lot of people do ask me like what to do, but I don't really try and get them to jump. I just tell them to find exercise that they eventually enjoy. Because I remember what's it, your podcast with Sunny where she was talking about the flow state. I probably got to that flow state in a sense when I would swim.
Yeah.
It wasn't so often. It was like maybe once every, I used to swim like 2 or 3 times a week. Maybe once every 2 weeks, I would just swim and just be lost in the swimming. When I started running, there would also be moments where I would just run and just get lost and just go for it. But I get that a lot more from jumping, which like I get it a lot more often. So I'll definitely get it at least twice a week if I jump 3 times a week. And the main thing for me is that people that want to stay fit, I wouldn't try and corner them into jump rope. I would say, look, try everything and see what you enjoy. Because I remember everyone takes the piss out of CrossFit. But when I was actually in San Francisco at Deanna's gym, seeing everyone go for it and how hard it is, just like, well, it makes sense. If you enjoy this, you're going to get super fit. And that's why Mel is like older than me, but he's definitely fitter than me. Like that's why he can bang out kamikazes,
right?
Because he's doing the whole CrossFit thing, and I don't really do that. I'm not very good with it in terms of core strength. I should really improve that, and he's enjoying it, and that's the thing. Is getting fit and healthy should not only be something you enjoy, but you also have to change your lifestyle a bit. Like, I think a bigger factor for me rather than jumping was my diet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of people talk about, okay, I've got to have breakfast. It's like, do you though? Do you have to have breakfast? If you can tell me the amount of times you've had breakfast while not hungry, then okay, you need breakfast. But the amount of times, I can't count the amount of times I've eaten breakfast out of habit.
Right.
And that's the thing, diet is habit. It's like, okay, it's that time of the day, I'm going to make breakfast. Okay, it's that time of the day, I'm going to have lunch. And then I learned to do intermittent fasting. So that was not that hard. It was like 8 hour feeding window, and mine was 12 to 8.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd eat lunch and then I'd eat dinner. And then eventually Chris was like, yeah, I only eat dinner. And I was like, okay. And I tried that out and it worked perfectly. I haven't done that recently with the whole quarantining. It's very hard to not eat when you're just at home.
Right.
But yeah, I think a lot of people don't want to change that kind of lifestyle.
Well, I think
they don't want to change their lifestyle in terms of diet.
Yeah, and I think you're touching on a lot of good stuff. And in terms of the diet thing, it is good to just put a quick little disclaimer that like a lot of that, like you were saying earlier with exercise, comes down to working with a physician and finding what works best for you. You've found that for yourself, which is great. And depending on your lifestyle, like there might be different ways. Like it might be the reverse of what you said for someone else. Breakfast is the go-to, maybe some lunch, then no dinner. Like it always just kind of depends. But it's a good point because rather than seeing, maybe you try a certain exercise, maybe you're at the gym with a trainer and it doesn't work and you don't stick with it. Instead of seeing that as a failure, you can view it as more of a process of exploration, where you are just trying out a few different things and seeing what fits best. And it might take you a couple go arounds. Like for you, you did weightlifting, you did running, you did swimming, and you just learned what fit best. And now you have those tools of the trade to look back on, which makes you more confident. But another big thing about it too is rather than seeing it as this thing, I have to do, it would be really helpful, I think, for a lot of people who are, if they're beginning a fitness journey, to view it as a new addition to their life. The same way, well, this is kind of a weird example, but maybe the same way you might bring on, a dog or a new animal into the family. There's responsibility there, but it's also a lot of enjoyment. And if you can find that fitness exercise that works best for you in that sense, it's a good way to stay excited and stay motivated about adding to your life rather than, oh man, now I have to go do this thing. Because the second you get to the point where you say you have to do something, that starts a chain reaction of things kind of potentially going downhill versus maintaining or correcting yourself and saying, this is something that I want to do.
Yeah. I mean, being 33, I've tried so many different things. And so I've just found what worked for me, but it's just, I found it while I'm in my 30s. So I only started intermittent fasting at maybe 31. And then I only got into this competitive style jumping at 32. So maybe if I had learned 10 years ago, when I would have been in a lot better condition to possibly, maybe I would be competing. Who knows?
Well, it's also, a couple different ways to reframe that too. Like A, it's better than waiting 10 more years to do it.
Oh no, definitely.
And B, you have all the physical ability. Like Chris and I talked about this on a few episodes ago about software versus hardware. Like the hardware that you have with your body is far more powerful than most people give credit, and I think that, if competitive jump rope, if actually going and competing is ever something that is on, you, Bobby, specifically your mind or anyone else's, it's worth exploring and trying out. Because speaking as someone who knows the competitive world, if you're trying to go win a world record, that's a much higher benchmark that will require a lot more time. But if you're going to go compete and have fun and explore and see what it's like, it's 100% worth doing. It's just before you go, put a marker in what exactly your goal is. If your goal is to go win, that's very different than seeing what it's about and doing your best and performing a routine that you're proud of,
Yeah. No, I'm kind of bummed about the championships this year. Me and Chris were already had the time off booked, and I also found the perfect Airbnb next to where it was happening, but unfortunately it's been cancelled.
Yeah, there's been a lot of changes this year for sure in terms of coronavirus and all of the restrictions that have happened, but I would imagine, once everything returns back to normal and once we get through this rough patch, we should be seeing a lot more, excitement and back to the normal schedule of competitions and stuff. Which hopefully will happen sooner than later.
Hopefully. Yeah, we were supposed to go Paris next week to meet Mimi and a few other jumpers, and unfortunately we had to cancel.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're looking to. We haven't cancelled our tickets. We've only cancelled our accommodation. So what we're doing is we're hoping to reschedule for later in the year, and then we'll just go then. But
that's cool.
The same.
So we've been chatting for a good amount of time. It's been almost an hour, it looks like, which has been super super fun, dude. This has been good to catch up and see how things are going. So I guess it'd be a good time now to kind of wrap up with our last main question of the podcast, which you know what's coming here. What is jump rope to you?
So it's a rope, two handles, and then you yeet it, and then you yeet over it. Yeah, that's what it is. No,
very literal.
Jump rope to me is it's part of me now. I think, I'm eventually going to get a tattoo with a jump rope. I have to design it. It might be that logo I came up with, but no, jump rope is It's such a cliche saying, but jump rope is life.
Hmm.
But it kind of is for me. I made so many friends. Like Chris is like one of my best friends right now. I've made a lot of friends. I've like kind of turned my, I wouldn't say turn it around. I wasn't really going off the rails, but I've kind of like changed my outlook in terms of like how I approach things just from learning to jump, getting more disciplined in the skills. It's kind of made me approach certain things in life that way. So maybe in a job interview, like learning the tricks of a job interview and then perfecting them.
Hmm.
It's just it's weird that you can kind of take it and put it towards other things. But yeah, jump rope is life.
Nice, dude. Yeah, it's a really really great spot to wrap up. Thank you so much for taking the time, dude. It's funny because we've known each other for obviously over a year at this point, but I've
Yeah,
never really dug into your full history, so it's been really cool to hear about it.
yeah, man, no worries. Maybe again sometime when I learn what could I learn? I
Quads.
don't quads. Oh,
Quads.
I'm not a fan of
A
multiples, man.
cross kamikaze push up.
Cross. Oh, maybe that, or maybe a double under frog, or
Yes.
frog to double under frog.
Yes. That one for
Yeah,
sure.
I should learn that. You know.
Nice, dude. All right. Well, I want to be respectful of your time. I'll let you get back to your day. And thanks for
Cheers.
being on.
Thank you for having me, mate. I'll speak to you soon.